Tuesday, October 20th, the year 2020. Thank you so much for celebrating with us as we were marking Mashujaa Day. Wherever you're watching, I know you are a Shujaa in your own capacity, so we celebrate you as well. Welcome on board as we kickstart the day's coverage. Part of it, a major part of it, includes how the country marked the celebrations to celebrate heroes and heroines who have played a role in pushing this country forward. My name is Serfine Achieng Ouma, and our sign language interpreter is Susan Dhuku. Now, we begin straight away. President Uhuru Kenyatta has dismissed claims that the Building Bridges Initiative report is aimed at creating positions for few individuals, but rather meant to unite competing interests in the country. Addressing the nation from Kisii during the 57th Mashujaa Day celebrations, the president reiterated his caution against constitutional rigidity, saying Kenya's forefathers wanted the nation to keep on improving its constitution. The president says the forthcoming constitution review will resolve the problem of the winner takes it all that will accommodate diversities.
And the national question goes back to the advent of our multi-party system. For indeed, it was after the reintroduction of political pluralism in 1992 that negative politics began to dominate our national arena. The question at hand, and one requiring a constitutional consensus, is therefore, how do we as a people, as a nation, resolve the winner-take-all situation within a context of competitive politics as required by democratic practice? The question of us versus them must come to an end, fellow Kenyans. And as we exercise our democratic rights, it must never again be at the expense of our diversity. The cardinal principle must always be our unity in diversity. Can we adopt a constitutional arrangement that can take care of our diversity as a people? We should not give my suggestion the parochial interpretation of creating positions for individuals.
And the ODM leader, Raila Odinga, says the Building Bridges Initiative process is now set to resume after a break following the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking in Kisii County during the Mashujaa Day celebrations, Odinga said the final report is now with President Uhuru Kenyatta and will be released under the guidance of the head of state. The opposition leader urged Kenyans to embrace the constitution review process that will set Kenya to a prosperous path.
For 56 years, you have followed one direction, but with not very many results. So we need to look at what else is there which is missing. The project Kenya can move forward as envisioned by the founding fathers of our nation. United, God should bless us. We should dwell in unity, peace and liberty, and plenty should be found within our borders. From here, Your Excellency, the BBI train moved to Kakamega Ingo, then to Mombasa, then to Kitui, then to Narok, then to Garissa, then to Meru. It was only when we were supposed to be going to Nakuru, shetani ikanguka kutoka huku juu. Rege ikaenda kwa half time. Lakini sasa half time imekwisha, wachezaji wameshanyoroshwa, wameshapata mafunzo tena wamepata massaging, sasa wanarudi kwa kiwanja, Your Excellency. Na wewe mwenyewe ndio utasema hii njia tunataka kufuata sasa kwa kutoka hapa, because nobody can stop reggae.
My friend, the former Prime Minister, has told us about the reggae, which is fine, but I guess we will have a robust national conversation that will bring everybody on board.
Now let's take you back to where all this happened today in Kisii County. Joining us now is Serfine Achieng to give us an update and paint a picture on some of the activities that were happening today and even before these celebrations, and what was the key highlight of the celebrations to mark the Mashujaa Day. Thank you so much, Achieng. Serfine, what can you tell us?
Well, thank you very much, Serfine. We've just had to actually seek shelter under these tents because, of course, the skies here in Kisii have actually opened and it has started raining. That is the nature of Kisii. Anytime it's about to rain, and of course it has started raining here in Kisii County, and that is where we actually are. And of course, as we know, unprecedented situations called for unprecedented action, and of course that is where we are. These tents were actually the areas from which members of the public from this part of the country were actually following the live proceedings from the stadium, which is just about 3 kilometers from where we are standing. And it was expected that about 8,000 people will actually be gathering here. And of course, there's another tent down there, about 2 more tents the other side. Of course, those were supposed to be areas from which members of the public, invited members of the public, were actually supposed to gather and follow the proceedings as President Uhuru Kenyatta and of course other high-ranking government officials led this year's Mashujaa Day celebration at Kisii Stadium. What I would say is that yes, these arrangements were actually made, but only 1 tent was filled probably towards capacity, but the most of the remaining 2 tents were actually virtually empty as members of the public actually were lining up along the streets and of course just outside the stadium, hoping that they can actually gain access into the stadium so that then they can actually follow the proceedings live from the stadium as they see President Uhuru Kenyatta. But of course we remember what was actually said yesterday, or what was communicated yesterday, that only 4,000 people will actually be invited into or allowed into the stadium. This of course is advised by the prevailing conditions, that is COVID-19 pandemic, and as such only invited guests were actually allowed into the stadium. Coming back to what was actually happening here, and of course around town as President Uhuru Kenyatta was actually officiating to this year's Mashujaa Day, was that security was extremely tight. Of course, police ensuring that only those invited could actually access this ground, and of course the stadium, but also they also ensured that those actually going into the stadium were actually putting on their mask. But to come back to where we actually are, I'll be talking to one Mzee here who actually followed the proceedings here at the special tents that actually been erected here, so that he can tell us what it was like actually following the live proceedings from where we are. Habari yako mzee?
Mzuri.
Tuambie majina yako nani?
Naitwa Charles Matagaro.
Charles, tueleze tu hii ni mara ya kwanza tunaona kwamba Rais Uhuru Kenyatta anakuja hapa Kisii kusherehekea sherehe hii kuu ya Mashujaa, lakini kulingana na janga la COVID-19 ama ugonjwa wa corona ilisababisha kwamba tukawa kwamba umetuwekea mahema ili tuweze kufuatilia mambo jinsi yanavyotiririka kule stadium. Hebu nieleze, wakati ulikuwa umeketi hapa ulijihisi vipi?
Nilikuwa nasikia mzuri kwa sababu tulikuwa tunakaa kando kando na watu. Hasa ndio niona kwa kwa hapo kila mtu alikuwa na kando kando, lakini alikuwa na maski ndani, alikuwa na maski.
Alikuwa amevaa mask. Nikueleze pengine ile feeling ukipenda ile hisia za kukua ndani ya stadium na kukaa hapa, ulikuwa na hisi namna gani? Kwa sababu na wengi wenyu mlikuwa mtaka sana mkue ndani ya stadium, lakini mmepata nafasi ya kuwa hapa. Pengine unieleze tu ile hisia ilikuwa vipi?
Hapo ilikuwa mzuri kwa sababu tulikuwa tunakaa kama huko, tulikuwa watu walikuwa wanakaa pale, walichaa pale, wengine wakakuja kuatea kwa hema ndani.
Mwisho kabisa, hebu tueleze kwamba wewe ukiangalia jinsi pengine sherehe ya mwaka huu imeandaliwa na mambo yote ambayo mikakati yote ambayo imewekwa, wewe kama mkazi wa Kisii unajihisi namna gani?
Nilikuwa na furaha sana kwa sababu niko na furaha kwa sababu hata kibanda kulio na ilikuwa inatengenezwa ndani ya hapo kiwanja. Ni furaha sana, hata kubambo ilikuwa na bambo kweli kweli.
Naam, shukran sana Charles. Of course that is just one of the locals who actually came here at Kisii Golf Club to actually witness what was going on live, what was going on from the stadium. Of course, the celebration of Mashujaa Day led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. What is happening now, Serfine, is that members of the public, especially those who had actually invited and actually had cars to attend the luncheon that actually follows the celebrations from the stadium, are actually now moving towards the other side of the golf club, so that then they can actually join other invited guests, so that then they can actually join in having their lunch. Of course, we'll be packaging what exactly happened on the streets of Kisii, and of course here at Golf Club in terms of locals following the live proceedings from the stadium. And of course in our subsequent bulletin, listeners and viewers will have a first-hand feel of what happened here in Kisii. Back to you, Serfine.
Thank you so much, Achola Simon, for that report. He's coming to us live from the Kisii Golf Club, one of the venues that were hosting the excess of the guests who were invited for these particular celebrations. Big screens were mounted at the golf club just to allow the guests to follow the live proceedings of these particular celebrations. Our team on the ground, including Suleiman Yeri and Edward Kabasa, will be providing us with more details and an in-depth coverage of how the celebrations were marked in Kisii County. So that will be coming your way in our subsequent news bulletins, but we still have more for you. And right now, Mijikenda elders in Kilifi County have kicked off a drive to raise at least 10 million shillings to build a resource center in honor of Mekatilili wa Menza. The elders affiliated to the Malindi District Cultural Association launched an M-Pesa pay bill number to raise the initial 1 million to buy and fence off the piece of land on which Mekatilili is believed to have ignited the independence struggle way back in 1913.
Of praise. Cultural dances in honor of the late freedom fighter and heroine Mekatilili wa Menza. This was followed by traditional prayers to honor the heroine as the country marked Mashujaa Day. The elders are set out on a mission to raise at least 10 million shillings in a bid to build a resource center in memory of Mekatilili wa Menza. They say that the vices are on the rise in the society as people have abandoned their traditions and adopted Western cultures. They're now calling on the youth to retrace at their roots.
Fahamu kwamba hatuwezi piga hatua kama tutaidharau jana yetu, kwa maana history is the source of objectivity. We can never go far if we disown our own history.
Hakuna kitu ambacho kinaweza kutushikanisha isipokuwa historia yetu na utamaduni wetu.
The Malindi District Cultural Association said the historical and cultural museum on the piece of land would serve as a place where all the 9 sub-tribes could congregate and consult.
Hii site ilikuwa imeanza kuuzwa na wale ambao ni wamiliki wa hapa. So hiyo ikatushtua sana, kwa sababu labda ingeingia mikononi mwa watu ambao hawana uzoefu ama hawana ufahamu kuhusu hii site.
Shirika la Madka wakaona ni vema wafanye mazungumzo na wale jamii ili tuweze kulinunua hili eneo liwe ni eneo la umma kwa ajili ya kuhifadhi historia ya Mama Mekatilili.
Kenyans, especially those drawn from the coastal region, have been urged to contribute towards this project. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Thank you, Yusuf Farah, for that report. Now, moving on with more celebrations in the country, we are now going to be taking you to Mombasa County just to follow up on how the celebrations were marked. Currently speaking is the Governor, Ali Hassan Joho. Let's listen in.
To take some action when I want to protect the people of Mombasa. So mazungumzo ni mengi, somebody can speak a lot. And I was just telling Abdul Samad, don't listen to what people say. There's a reason as to why you are the leader and not them. There's a reason. And as a leader, it is not always you will be celebrated for what you say. Sometimes you will be criticized. But you need to be able to evaluate your decision and have the confidence that you're on the right path. Nimemwambia hapa mbunge wangu wa Mvita. Juzi nimemwambia there's someone, wakati tulisema tufanye cessation of movements, someone sent to me a very strong message, watuonea governor. That same person, 1 week ago, unfortunately, walipata mtu ambaye ameumia na COVID in their family, now writes to me and tells me, Governor, tafadhali tufungie. That is the mind of the people. You know? Wengine wanaona jambo ni zito paka likiwa limeudhuru wao. Sasa sisi kama viongozi, we have a different responsibility. And it doesn't mean we're perfect. We know, nchi ilivyokuwa imefungwa sana, hali ya uchumi imedorora. We know and we feel it. The highest requests on school fees, on businesses that has ever come to us, it is during that time. But we have to make a choice. What do we do? Shall we live as life is normal? Or shall we learn from other people and what they have done, and even think on our own way, outside the box, what it is that we could do? So tumefanya yote, masipitali, tukajenga madaktari, tukanunua, tukamaweka ma-ambulance, increase the capacity to look after the sick. But also we have a responsibility to protect that wale ambaye wana uzima. So we've been dealing with the issues of COVID-19 from as early as February. Tumengangana nayo, we got to a point where we felt we should relax the measures a bit. But the fact of the matter is that the only person that can protect them, mwingine zaidi ni wewe mwenye nafsi yako. You can protect yourself better than Kitio can protect you. Gatherings have been allowed up to some level. But it doesn't mean you should not wear your mask. Some people were saying, Governor came to Mamangina. I came and I danced, but I was wearing a mask. And I was having a sanitizer. And if there's music again, I will dance again. If you hate it, bust. If you hate it, bust. And it clearly shows you that you can't dance. I can. So don't criticize, or creating meaningless issues. As a leader, you have a responsibility to say what is the truth. We agree as a country we are in a situation where we need to start opening up our economy. But there are protocols to do that. And it's very simple. I urge you, the people of Mombasa, if you want, and the entire republic, if you want us to do well on COVID-19, please just wear your mask when you are close to people. I have removed my mask here. The person closest to me is over 2 meters. But if Kitio comes here, I will put back my mask. So it's not rocket science. And no country wants to see people covering their faces. It is only that we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. So I appeal to all of us, as we call for more opening of the country, we also remind ourselves that there are protocols that we've been given. If they are put to use, then we will be safe. Sijui kama tuko pamoja jamani. Tuvaeni tu barakoa, tuoshe mikono, ili tuokoe maisha ya watu ambaye tunawapenda.
All right. That is the Mombasa County Governor Ali Hassan Joho making his speech as he led the county to mark this year's Mashujaa Day celebrations. Key among what he's talking about to the residents is the fact that they need to observe individual responsibility in the war against COVID-19. He is reiterating the need to observe the safety protocols just to be able to play a part in flattening the curve in the country. It's not yet the time to let our guard down. That's according to the governor. We'll be getting back there and giving you more details about what happened in Mombasa County as the day progresses. Now, as Kenya marks 57th Mashujaa Day celebrations, one Mthambu Merangi, who claims to be a surviving Mau Mau general from Meru County, is a bitter man. Merangi claims he has not been able to enjoy the fruits of freedom he fought for and have been banished to abject poverty with no recognition from successive governments. Let's hear the plight of this particular man from Caroline Kamau.
We traversed through the vast county of Meru to Tigania West Sub-County, Kianjai area, in a village known as Mtuonjori. Here we met a man claiming to be a Mau Mau General Kulunu Mudhambu.
Tulikuwa pamoja na Kenyatta, alafu na Kimathi pia. Tulitunga tutaenda msituni kupigania uhuru wa Kenya. Mzee ndiye alituambia Kenyatta uhuru ya inji apatikani hivyo ni damu itamangika.
Though aged, the old man can vividly remember how he, together with the likes of the late General Baimungi and General Mwariama, all who hailed from Meru, gave up their lives to fight for the independence enjoyed by Kenyans today.
Ikatoka mingi kutoka huko Ulaya na bande ingine ya Kenya na kukomboa bale mengine Uganda, Tanzania ya kuja kupigana sisi. Na sisi tuliosema ndio tutapigana tu, damu yetu imagike, sisi tumalizike. Wakachoma nyumba yetu ya watu wale wote, wale walienda msituni wakula ng'ombe yote na mali yote wakula.
Years later, the old man lives in abject poverty and says that he had expected more for fighting for the independence of this country. Though happy that some of the freedom fighters have been recognized by the government, for him little has been done to reward him.
Kwa na njara mguu ilikuwa mnapigwa huko msituni ya Nyambeni na hakuna kitu inapata. Kana sasa miaka za tebo nilikuwa hapa kwa mguu hapa na hakuna kitu inaona. Mimi watoto wangu na hakuna chamba, mimi ina pointi beute na hakuna ingine, na ina watoto mingi kuliko 10, na hiyo vijana wana watoto wao na hakuna mali anapata.
General Kulenu, who suffered a gun bullet, says he had at least hoped to get some restitution from the government. During our interview, the general pauses to take a break to listen to gospel music, which he says is food for his soul. And as the country celebrates the 57th Mashujaa Day, Kulinu hopes for a ray of light in his life before his sunset. Caroline Kamau reporting for Channel 1 Lunchtime News.
Thank you, Caroline, for that report. He celebrated that Hero, and others in the country who have done their part in ensuring that we have freedom that we are enjoying today. Now, moving on, the Law Society of Kenya President Nelson Havi has been dealt a blow after 9 members out of 13 council members voted against the decision to oust Mercy Wambua from office. The council found the allegations leveled against the chief executive officer of the council lacking in substance to warrant such drastic action. Wambua has been suspended from the 15th of September for gross misconduct and incompetence.
Drama ensued at the Law Society of Kenya over the tenure of the society's chief executive officer, Mercy Wambua. 9 members out of 13 cleared the embattled CEO to continue in office. The council had resolved that the CEO, who was on suspension on 17 charges of gross misconduct and incompetence for the period 15th September 2020 to 19th October 2020, should resume her duties. This even as they accused the LSK President Nelson Havi of being disrespectful and walking out of a meeting alleging that he was going to write the judgment on Wambua alone. The council pointing out that the president does not have the powers to veto the decision taken by a majority of the members. But Havi maintains Wambua must leave office and that she will be paid her 3 months in lieu of notice. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Jackie Wambiru.
And elsewhere, leaders from a minority community living in Madogo area in Tana River County are threatening to move to court to sue the Teachers Service Commission for not picking any of the locals for the advertised teaching slots in Bura constituency. The leaders claim they suspect nepotism and corruption played out in the recruitment exercise, which looked out non-locals.
The leaders led by Munyoyaya Council of Elders Chair Mahat Loka claimed the Bura constituency got over 10 positions out of the 48 that were reserved for the county and were shocked to learn that no single person was shortlisted from the local community.
Kazi ya walimu ilitangazwa, vijana wali-apply ama waliomba kazi, lakini hakuna mtu yeyote ambaye ameajiriwa so far.
They want the whole exercise nullified and be done afresh to give the community a fair share of the national cake.
Iwapo wale vijana hawatachukuliwa, kazi hiyo ama hiyo shughuli ya kuajiriwa watu irudiwe, vijana wa apply upya, waajiriwe kazi.
They said as a minority community they have been discriminated against over the years and want the government to consider them when such opportunities arise to uplift their livelihoods.
We are appealing to the government. Tunataka kukutana na Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta. Sisi kama jamii ya Munyoyaya tukae chini tueleze malalamishi yetu. Tangu Kenya ipate uhuru, sisi kama jamii ya Munyoyaya tumewekwa wapi?
Leo hii tumekuja hapa kuelezea serikali ya kwamba sisi kama jamii ya Munyoyaya tumeweza kutengwa na serikali. Katika mambo na census hatuko, tukiangalia katika mambo na uajiri hatuko. Sasa ilikuwa tunataka kujua kwamba hii jamii wako ndani ya serikali ya Kenya ama hawako.
Beatrice Gatonyingetich, Channel 1 News.
And from Tana River County, a middle-aged man has been lynched by a mob for bestiality. The man is said to have been found in the act at around 4 a.m. by a passerby at Mavoko area in Mwingi town who raised an alarm. Take a look.
According to eyewitness, the man is said to have turned violent once he was cornered, forcing a mob to descend on him. Speaking at the scene, Kavavwani Location Chief Nicholas Movengei cautioned locals against taking the law into their hands, urging them to instead alert the police whenever they find somebody committing a crime so that the necessary legal action can be taken.
Saa 10 usiku nimepigiwa simu, kuna jamaa amepatikana kwa mboma ya Choma Zone, mboma ya ng'ombe. Na alikuwa anasemekana alikuwa na nia ya kufanya usherati na ng'ombe.
Movengei said there have been increased cases of insecurity in the area and called on law enforcers to move with speed and beef up security for residents to live their lives without fear.
Watu wakishika mwenye anasuspektiwa kuwa ni mbaya, wapige ripoti mahali inastahili, sheria ichukue kwa njia yenye inastahili. Ili kuua si kitu tena kinasaidia. Yule anaweza saidia serikali kufanya uchunguzi zaidi. Kwa hivyo kuua tumekataza, si mzuri.
Lois Issa, a resident of the area, said she got information about the man and rushed to the scene to get a glimpse, only to find the man had already been killed.
Si tulipokuja tulipata mtu akiwa amepigwa, ameuliwa na ako hapa na kulikuwa na umati wa watu. Sasa sisi tukaingia kuulizia hivi, tukaambiwa alikuwa na rape ng'ombe. Huyo mtu anasemekana ako na bibi na aliacha bibi yake na akakuja kushika ng'ombe za watu hapa. Sisi kama wanawake tunaudhika sana.
Beatrice Getonyeng-Etich, Channel 1 News.
And over 180 families in Kajiado West Sub-County have received foodstuffs, sanitary towels and hand-washing soaps, among other basic amenities from the Scouts Kenya Association. The association pitched tent at the Oloshobor Primary School for an awareness campaign over the COVID-19 pandemic.
As much. The team that has been on an awareness campaign since July this year docked at the Oloshobor Primary School and donated the goodies to the families.
So we've given what we're calling a bag of hope. In it there's food, in it there's sanitary towel, in it we have the necessary PPEs for the families to continuously observe these measures.
Scouts Kenya International Commissioner Anthony Gitonga said they're working in partnership with the Ministry of Education to register more members to the association.
And what we want to do is to empower the Scouts to take the lead when it comes to being ambassadors in observing the protocols, social distancing, washing hands, and to still create the awareness that the deadly virus is still out here, and the communities and the families and everybody out there, it's important that you continuously observe the measures that have been put in place.
They're expected to join the over 2 million registered Scouts. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
And President Donald Trump's handling of the coronavirus pandemic has become a central talking point in the presidential election campaign. It will form part of the final pre-election debate set for Thursday between Trump and the Democratic candidate Joe Biden. In an unprecedented move, the microphones of the duo will be muted for part of the debate.
With just 14 days to the U.S. election, President Donald Trump on Monday ridiculed Fauci as a disaster, trashing one of the nation's best hopes for easing the pandemic along his recommendations to quell the alarming COVID-19 surge. Trump's attack on Fauci comes despite the fact that COVID-19 is now rampaging across many of the swing states he must win in 14 days to secure a second term. Trump has been holding rallies in these states with few masks and no social distancing, which is likely to further spread the disease. At the same time, President Trump and his Democratic rival Joe Biden will have their microphones muted for part of their final pre-election debate on Thursday. The new measures were brought in following a heated first debate marked by ill-tempered exchanges and frequent interruptions, predominantly by Trump. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
It's time for us to now focus on some sports news. Football Kenya Federation has announced the departure of Harambee Stars tactician Francis Kimanzi and part of his backroom staff by mutual consent. The Federation says Kimanzi has left his position alongside assistant coach Zedekiah Otieno and goalkeeper trainer Lawrence Webo. Kimanzi was appointed Harambee Stars head coach in August 2019, replacing Sebastian Mine, who was axed. At the time, Kimanzi was Mine's assistant, pending a 2-year deal to take charge at the helm. Kimanzi's exit came just days after leading Stars to a 2-1 win over Zambia's Chipolopolo in an international friendly tie played at Nyayo National Stadium. And several local drivers are taking advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic period to conform with the 2021 World Rally Championship Safari Rally standards. One of them is former KNRC Division 1 S-Class and 2-wheel drivers champion Jamsit Chana, who recently fitted an FIA-approved safety fuel tank. Paraplegic driver Nihil Sachania was among the first Kenyan drivers to do so as part of a grant from FIA, Disability and Accessibility Commission. Jamsit has already kick-started his preparations and hopes to tackle next year's WRC Safari Rally alongside his elder brother Ravi Shana in their Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution X. The 2021 WRC Safari is slated for June 24 to 27th. Jamsit makes up the elite group of Kenyan drivers categorized in the KNRC Premier Class. He is currently lying third in the Kenya National Rally Championship behind the leader Baldev Chaja and Carl Flash Tundu. And defender Conor Cody says Wolves win at Leeds United, which moved them into 6th in the Premier League.